All right, so let's go ahead and jump in with introductions. So if you go to the next slide, please, we can introduce you to Steve DeMarco. He's our first guest on our panel. He is the Chief Revenue Officer at LeanData. So thanks, Steve, for joining us. If you want to give a quick hi and howdy. Awesome.
Hi and
joining. Awesome. Joining Steve on the panel and leading our first breakout room is going to be our General Manager of Xactly Forecasting, Jim Eberlin. Thanks for joining us today, Jim. If you want to give a quick hello.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Yep. Joining Jim in our breakout number one and supporting him is going to be Matt Hohmann, our Senior Product Manager for Xactly Forecasting. Always a pleasure, Matt. If you want to give a hello.
Yep. Hello. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. And also on the panel today, we have, and she's also going to be leading breakout room 2. We have Stephanie Schall. She is our Global Solutions Strategist for Xactly Forecasting. Also avid Cardinals fan, it sounds like. So hello, Stephanie.
Hello.
Yep. And finally, this is me, my awkward smile. I'm Will Waters. I'm on the product growth team here at Xactly, and I'm going to be joining Steph in breakout room number 2. So with that, now that we have the introductions and fun photos out of the way, let's jump right into it. So wanted to start us off by asking a quick question just to set the stage. I think this is always important, but often overlooked in some of these webinars. And one of them is, what are you looking to get out of the session today? So if you wouldn't mind, first couple minutes, take a second, share with us what you're really looking to get out of the session today. If you have some things that you want to cover, drop them in the chat. Love to hear your thoughts and make sure we cover off on those things today.
All right.
And while you are, and while you're typing, I'll throw it over to you, Steph.
Perfect. Well, welcome everyone. In today's Discovery Lab, we are going to focus on the RevOps transformation journey. So specifically, we want to discuss the Xactly insights-driven approach to RevOps. And we're going to learn how Steve has transformed LeanData into the RevOps powerhouse that it is today. Then, of course, we want to hear where you are at. So we're going to, like Will said, we're going to jump into those breakout rooms where we're really going to workshop some of the barriers that you're facing in particular. So please, please, please do not feel afraid to share and ask our experts. We're looking forward to really digging in with you. So over to you, Jim.
Very good. Thanks, Stephanie. So, for our definition of revenue operations, I would, just my personal take on it, what we're doing here at Xactly is that we have the alignment of the functions that determine the success of a company's revenue lifecycle. It organizes the alignment of resources, people, processes, technologies, drives conversions of prospects to customers, it maximizes the customer lifetime value. And I would say, we're going to hear real life challenges here today. And I would say a lot of those are actually the top 3, in my opinion, are data silos, data inaccuracies, and I would say manual pain points like input points or just the heavy lifting to integrate data. Because we've seen solutions for these things before, but now we have revenue operations. And that's what takes us to our featured speaker here today. So Steve DeMarco, CRO of LeanData, welcome. This is great. Steve and I have been friends for a long time, and he's helped me out with my previous companies. He's given great advice. And, and Steve's been in this for over 20 years. As a sales leader. He's been in sales longer than that, but he's been a sales leader, and many of those as a CRO. And he's witnessed and been an early adopter of these processes and technologies as sales evolves. If you think about it, sales evolved from where it was like the sales team and an administrative function to sales operations and now to revenue operations. And Steve's the guy that's been, I would say he's a real pioneer. Everybody knows Steve, and that's out there, that's a sales professional. And so again, welcome, Steve. Thanks for being on with us today.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure, Jim. Appreciate it. Always love to chat with you and the team here at Xactly. Yeah, it's great to be here. And as Jim said, it's nice to meet everybody. I'm Steve DeMarco. I'm the CRO of LeanData. For those of you that don't know who LeanData is, we're a SaaS software company, Salesforce native software application. We have a revenue orchestration platform. So for those of you that don't know what that is, it's a software application that automates key revenue processes. We're most well known for making sure that leads, contacts, accounts, key revenue data within Salesforce gets routed to the right sales rep or SDR. That's our specialty. It's what we're known for, but that's what we do. And so we're part of that whole revenue operations world and we sell into that. And we're about a 9-year-old high growth SaaS software company. I've been here for about 3 years now. And as Jim said, though, I've been in the world of technology sales longer than I like to admit. Jim mentioned 20 years, that he's being kind. It's probably been a little longer than that, but I don't want to date myself, but as he said, it's really true, and a lot of you, on this webinar probably have seen, over the past just probably 5 or 6 years, just an incredible evolution. And then those of us that have been around even longer have seen just a massive evolution of how sales ops has really transformed and evolved, and to the point where, obviously it's broadened, and it's not even really called sales anymore. It's so much more than that. It's revenue. It's a revenue function, and it's not just a sales ops function. It's an all-encompassing revenue operations function. It's more than just sales. It's encompassing all aspects of revenue, including marketing and demand generation through the sales process. And now with the advent of software as a service and subscription, it's really all about customer success and renewing and expanding and growing customers. So it's really all of those facets of the revenue journey, or the buyer's journey, that we're all focusing on. And I think revenue operations is the foundation that really has to help companies manage that key piece of the puzzle. So it's a great topic. I love talking about it, and especially talking about how it's changed into what it is today.
I definitely want to get into your, what you've done there at LeanData and what you've done in other places. So I think before we get into it, let's bring up a poll question for the audience. So so this is something that Steve, you've done, and I'll go ahead and read it here for everyone. In starting your RevOps journey, which operational element would you address first? So do you want to give us the answer yet, Steve? Or
no, I'm going to let people answer the poll, because I don't want to lead anybody. It's a great question, and there's no wrong answer, really. I think a lot of this depends on where you are as a company. As Jim said, I've worked for several companies, really large public companies that have thousands and thousands of employees, and then I've worked for small startups and that have had 15 employees and everything in between. And depending on that, is probably, it helps drive the answer to this question. But now that we're getting some answers,
yeah,
I want to agree with kind of the sentiment here. I go with people. Now where I am today at LeanData, we're a high growth SaaS company, Series C, Series D, to give people kind of an idea. So we have a vision of where we want to be. I came on board about 3 years ago, and it was all about scaling and growing. So we had to really kind of take stock of, okay, here's where we are today. Where do we want to be in 2 to 3 years? You always have a vision out there a few years, but you also have to plan for where you are today. And it starts with the people. You got to bring good people in order to build and scale that process, because you have to have that know-how, that knowledge. And then I agree with that second sentiment there. The data is so critical because the people in the data are sort of that foundational aspect of everything. And then you can build the processes, and the intelligence is derived from that. So I think that the audience here obviously has it spot on.
Yeah, yeah. So it's it was 75% people, 25% data. Are you saying that's the where you would?
Yeah. I believe personally that, you know, you got to get the folks, the team right. You got to get the people, the know-how. But data is also very important. I can see why there's people that would think data is job one. And again, I think, you know, if you're in a more mature organization and you have the people in place, then it becomes all about data. So again, really the answer, there's no wrong answer to this question. It's really about where you are as an organization.
So is this what you've done when you took over at LeanData? Did you do
Yeah.
How did you do it?
Yeah, you know, we came in and, you know, as I mentioned, we'd been around for about 5 or 6 years, but then, you know, we had some pretty aggressive growth plans. And so that's why they brought me in, because they wanted to get to sort of the next couple of levels up. So I'd done that before with companies. And so I knew, okay, well, first and foremost, you had to have, you know, the key people on the team, heads of RevOps. We had to bring in a new head of RevOps. We had to bring in some key sales and RevOps leadership in order to build those processes and to help the planning process, et cetera. So we brought in, so that's why the people piece was the number one area. At the same time, though, the data was not where we wanted it to be. You know, we had to put in the infrastructure to make sure that the data, when I talk about data, it's just making sure that, you know, all the teams in the company, our data was a little bit siloed. You know, we had marketing was kind of looking at its own set of data, sales was looking at its own set of data, and customer success was looking at its own set of data. You know, over the past 3 years, teaming up with the customer organization and marketing organization, we've done a really good job of making sure that data was consistent across all the revenue organization. So we're all looking at the same set of data, and we broke down those silos, and we built planning and metrics that were very much aligned, and that all of that planning was done under the one single revenue operations umbrella that encompassed all of those organizations. So that's what really helped us build an organization to scale.
That's great. And can you tell me just that, like, I don't want to get into specifics on the company, but like,
sure,
you had a good company. It was a good size before, but you've really grown it and scaled things quickly. Can you tell us about some of the things, like, were there people that you put in place to do certain things that were there, you know, did you focus on the customer, you know, different, like what were some of the things, challenges that occurred?
Oh, sure. Yeah, Jim. No, think about LeanData, you know, the good thing was we had the market, the product, everything, you know, we had a really mature, you know, product and market focus. We knew who we were selling to. All of that was great. Really what it was about was, you know, how do we build the company and set it up to scale, right? And so working really closely with the chief customer officer and the CMO, we put this plan together to really build out a cohesive, and as I mentioned, a very aligned revenue operations organization, where previously customer success had its own customer operations, marketing had its marketing operations, and sales had sales operations, and they were somewhat siloed. We said, okay, let's tear that down and let's go ahead and put that all under one revenue operations umbrella. So we started with that, and we did that. Getting the data was very, very critical. And interestingly enough, a little plug for Xactly, we brought in Xactly as our comp system, and you might think, well, wait, how does that help? Well, I'm a big fan. I've used Xactly Incent at 3 companies now, and we brought that in. And what I tell people is, we're Salesforce user, and Salesforce data is great, but we really, in addition, leverage the comp data because the data within Xactly was the most pristine and accurate data as it related to customer, sales rep performance, all of those things.
Yeah,
right?
those are like that's I'm glad you're touching on that, because
that's the data piece I was talking about that was really critical that we had to get in place.
Yeah, because it's like the there's so many more things that are, you mentioned how revenue operations covers from, marketing to sales to customer success and getting your customers back and selling them more. But there's a lot within there too, like in, like sales planning and, keeping ahead of like compensation, what that's going to be, you don't want to get blindsided with that and things like that. So, so having all this, like, how tough is it to get, to stay aligned on all these different things?
Yeah, no, it's really challenging, and then you throw in a little worldwide pandemic in there where everybody's separate. That throws another little curveball in there, because it's the collaboration and communication that really
you still had to grow, and you
still had to grow, right?
Yeah.
But fact is, everybody was dealing with it, so we were no different than anyone else. So you couldn't really use that as an excuse. But
you were raising a lot of money, and you've got all that added pressure on you, and you have to deliver. And so
there's always pressure on sales, right?
That's
absolutely. We thrive on it, but that alignment was really key. And so that communication and building that cohesive organization, but it all started with that unified data set. That I said, we leveraged the Xactly data set and the data that we had with the Salesforce data. So once we had that critical data set, we built and we used that as the foundation for all of our planning. And we started then with, okay, well, what are our goals? We knew where we wanted to be, 2 years, 1 year out. And then you look at those goals, and then you do that classic kind of, reverse waterfall, where you say, okay, now we got to build a capacity model, right?
Yeah.
And where's that revenue going to come from? Is it coming from the customer base? Is it coming from new customers? And then you're building capacity models, and you have to build. Obviously, I was looking at sales process, but working with customer success to incorporate that into the customer journey, right? And making sure that the sales process was cohesive with the customer journey, and of course the marketing journey as well, all having to work together. And I think that's the key to RevOps, right? It's no longer these siloed, okay, here's our marketing process. We have MQLs and SQLs, and then throw it over the wall to sales, and they put it into this siloed sales process. And then, here's the customer, and you throw it over to the customer team, and they have this siloed customer process. Now, those days are gone. It all has to be cohesive and unified under a revenue umbrella. All the processes have to be linked. All the data has to be linked, and the teams, by and large, all have to be linked and working together. And then the metrics all have to be aligned as well. You have to be measuring based on the same data. You can't have marketing looking at pipeline data that's different than sales, and then that's different from customer success. So it really is the key to the I think the entire situation is having that unified information, that unified data, that unified team to bring it all together under one umbrella.
Steve, we have about 3 minutes left, and I hope we can get you back again, because
I know it's tough
for someone like you. We need to know more. I'm sure everybody's like, let's keep going.
The breakout sessions are going to be awesome. I think the folks are going to be able to really drill into. You guys are experts at this.
But I want to ask before we go, like, awesome. Where do you think that revenue operations is going? So we're excited about what you said so far, because that's why Xactly's come out with our intelligent revenue platform so that we can have all this data, break out of these silos and have these more collaboration between the whole process. But where do you think it's going? There's AI, there's conversational AI, there's all these different things. Where do you think, is it going to get better? Is there going to be new things?
It's going to get bigger and better. No, it is. It is. It's just going to continue to get bigger. And with this whole, digital transformation, what I know it's such a buzzword, but it is. It's this. We talk about it at LeanData, digital ascendancy. It's all digital nowadays. It's no longer a selling process, right? It's a buyer's journey that you really have to fit into. And it's all about data. It's all about AI and predictive. Vendors aren't out there knocking on doors and selling anymore. You're really having to understand where the buyer is and meeting them on their terms, right? With information that's pertinent to them. They don't want to just talk to another vendor. They want pertinent information. And so revenue operations job is really going to be about mapping that buyer's journey and understanding it and making sure that you can help that buyer make that buyer decision. That's really what it's all about. It's no longer kind of a selling motion. It's helping that buyer get to that buyer decision. And that's going to be our job as a vendor. It's really a transformation of the whole B2B selling process. And I think RevOps is really going to be evolving into helping with that whole paradigm. So it's going to be interesting, and it's going to be a lot of fun to see how this continues to evolve.
That's awesome. So Steve, I always enjoy talking with you. It's great. And I learn something all the time. And, like I said, I want to have you back because there's just so much more we can get from you, guiding all of us in sales. So
yeah, well, thank you. Thanks for having me, and I appreciate everything Xactly does, and look forward to talking with you all again.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Steve. Appreciate it.
You bet. Bye, everyone.